All right, guys, we are back at you. We have Lane from Canada with us. Lane, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh, yeah, that signal's coming in pretty good. Wow, not bad. All right. Yeah. Lane, you know what? I just got recently turned on to your music by Glenn Rempson, and I had to fill this emergency slot because I was going to have Rini Menderos from Atlanta, Georgia. She's a prophetic minister, does some phenomenal music and ministry, and she reminded me that it was the Labor Day weekend. I was like, oh, yeah, a lot of people go away then. So she is hanging out with family. We're going to get her on sometime, but I really appreciate you being on so quickly. And Glenn is phenomenal. Glenn, like, whenever I have a cancellation or something going on, I say, Glenn, you got anybody for me? He said, listen, I got this guy Lane, man. And I was like, all right. And I listened to some of your stuff. I'm like, yeah, all right.
Right on.
Very cool, man. So let's start this out with what was first of all, you write, I would say, hard rock to metal. What would you classify your stuff as?
Yeah, probably somewhere kind of teetering on that line. Probably more hard rock, I would say, but I definitely like to throw in metal influence.
Yes.
But I'd probably put myself in the hard rock.
Yeah, that sounds.
Genre.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
We had that thing when we went down to Nashville. We met with the producer, from I forgot what when you and I talked the other day, and there was some guys from Pillar there, and also the producer of he produces metal, but he also manages Brantley Gilbert, the country artist, and he was telling us the same thing, that hey, you guys are more hard rock than metal, and we were like, what? And I mean, we listened to what he had to say, and we've adjusted. But yeah, man, I really like your stuff. It's got that hard rock edge. There's elements of metal, but there's elements of hard rock and some cool melodies going on that you have.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad that you're liking it.
Yeah, I really do. And so, how did your musical journey start from a little child? Do you remember, as early as you can remember, how old were you, and what was the first song that caught your attention? Maybe it was, I don't know, Row Your Boat. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. Just I'm curious to find out what really drew your attention when you were little.
Yeah, so this is a bit of an interesting journey because actually, when I was younger, like I didn't really get into hard rock.
Sure.
Until I was about 14 years old, and actually, kind of up to that point, I really almost didn't like music, to be honest with you.
Right.
But my dad, he was a master organ and piano player.
Oh.
And so I grew up listening to him play organ at church and piano. But my parents they listened to jazz, and they listened to things that didn't really interest me growing up.
Gotcha.
So, I had never really heard that hard genre of rock until I was kind of in my teenage years. Okay, so when you were so I understand it clearly. So you basically grew up in a church family that didn't really listen to any out of place music or rock and roll music per se, right? Yeah, well, not the kind of stuff that I listen to now. But okay. I mean, they were cool with the Beatles or whatever it may be, or the some of the Neil Diamond or something. I mean, what was their Yeah, like my mom said, like when she was a teenager, she would listen to like the Eagles or something like that. And, so yeah. Yep, gotcha. Okay, yep. So you didn't. Yeah. But in the household, was that stuff played in the household, or was it just faith-based music that was played in your house when you were growing up? I'd say it was mostly faith-based music. Okay. Stuff like, Southern. My dad really liked Southern gospel stuff. Okay, gotcha. That kind of stuff. So, yeah. Yep, interesting. So, so the rock thing. So that's interesting. So you were that age, and was there a song that stuck out in particular? Southern gospel, whatever it may have been. Was there a song that really reached you when you were little that you remember? I will say before I kind of got into rock music, the only thing that really interested me, oddly enough, was I liked listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. Okay. And like soundtracks like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, because I grew up watching those movies, right? Interesting, so that's kind of what did interest me. But, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. It's a very interesting story, the caliber of music that you do, and not really being. Sometimes that's actually a good thing that you weren't exposed to a bunch of music, and then as you grew, you got flooded with different stuff, but you had your own creative thoughts that you've been making some unique music. So, what was the next step? What was the first? How old were you? And what was the first rock song that you heard that turned your mind? You're like, wait a minute, I think I do like rock.
Yeah, so actually my brother went to like a youth conference of, I can't remember, it was a long time ago. He went to a youth conference. And
older brother?
Yeah, he's 2 years older than I am, so.
Gotcha.
So older brother.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And, so he went to this youth conference. So he was a little older than me. I wasn't in youth group yet.
Oh, gotcha.
He was, and he went to this youth concert.
Sure.
And the band Pillar had played there. And
yes.
he came back from this concert, and he's like, hey, check out this song. And it was, I believe it's Bring Me Down.
Okay.
From Where Do We Go From Here?
Okay.
And played that song, and I just I something just lit up in me, and I was like, whoa, what is this?
Really?
This is amazing. Yeah.
Wow. And did your parents hear it, and did they approve of it or not?
Yeah, my parents were they let me be who I needed to be, or let me find who I needed to be, essentially, right?
Excellent.
So they were totally cool with it.
Okay, good.
It was actually it was my grandfather actually that didn't appreciate the rock music so much. But,
sure, I get it. Yep. And quick question too: did you always grow up in Canada? Were you're born, raised, and live in Canada?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Born, raised, live in Canada.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Very cool. And that's interesting too. I mean, I find it fascinating because you're way out in Alberta, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's like beyond, as far as United States geographically speaking, you're above Montana, so to say, kind of.
Yeah, essentially.
Yep, gotcha. Okay, wow. And to me, I think that's a fascinating story, even to tell your kind of family your roots, that they were Southern gospel. And you always think when you're from and we're really neighbors. We're right next to each other. The only thing that separates us is a little water and some trees, maybe. But it's fascinating to me that even out extreme northwest. North America, that your family or dad was Southern gospel, so I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting to me, and maybe it's normal, but I just find it fascinating.
So my dad did get his degree down in Oregon State University.
Okay.
So that might have had some influence on him as well.
I see.
So yeah,
interesting, fascinating story. So you heard Pillar, and how old were you?
Yeah, I want to say I was about 14 at the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's when it usually switches around. Things start brewing between the ages of, there's a little switch from, when you're 4 or 5, 6 years old, and then you around 8 to 10 years old, you start getting into a little bit more, maybe heavier stuff, or sort of, kind of. But then when you hit that preteen or beginning teen, there's kind of like this dynamic musically that seems to go on. So that's interesting that Pillar was for you. So did you just start hanging out with your brother more, like, hey, feed me some more of this stuff?
Yeah, from there, I guess I had some other friends that were kind of getting the same stuff as well.
Okay.
So yeah, my brother had kind of found a few things, and he's like, oh, check these out. He actually, it was funny because he introduced me to music, and he's not as much into the heavy stuff as I did. As soon as I discovered the really hard stuff, I discovered, actually the first metal band I listened to was Zayo. Do you know the band Zayo?
That sounds very...
Z-A-O.
That sounds very familiar.
Kind of from back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the first screamo, hard screamo bands that I started listening to, and then a friend of mine said, you should check out Demon Hunter.
Ah, yes.
I checked out Demon Hunter, and I've been a hardcore fan ever since.
Yes.
I started listening to Demon Hunter.
And how old were you at that point?
I could have been, it's hard to say, 14, 15, kind of around that, 14 to 16 age range.
So there was a music explosion for you from Pillar to, Pillar's less heavier, but still rocking. So it just, Demon Hunter really kind of punched you in the face in a positive way, huh?
Oh, I tell you, as soon as I heard Demon Hunter's song, "Not I,"
okay,
I was just like, okay, yeah, like I found my place.
So. Interesting. Wow. And so,
yeah.
So with Demon Hunter and other bands, you just started soaking it up.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Interesting. And was there anything else that changed? Well, first of all, when did you start playing? What did you play first, and what did you start playing instrumentally?
Yeah, so like I said, so my dad was a piano and organ player, so I actually started off earlier in my life learning to play piano, but it was because my parents wanted me to learn piano, but
okay.
You know, as a kid, you kind of resent that, and it's like, well, I don't want to do this. And,
right.
And then in high school, I joined the band. I was in band class, so I actually played clarinet for 3 years.
Okay.
But then I don't know, it didn't really speak to me. But then as soon as I heard this music, I was like, I totally want to play guitar.
Okay.
So
you're 14, 15.
I think it was about 14, 15, and I asked my dad if I could, if he would buy me a guitar, and he said, only if you start with an acoustic one first.
Okay.
I said, okay.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's where I started, yep. I started with Johnny Cash, believe it or not. Well, dueling banjos and then Johnny Cash, yeah.
Nice.
And I ended up doing this metal stuff. What is that all about?
Look where I am now.
Yeah, it's like, what? And it's funny, some of your story I can relate to, because I didn't like a lot of music, and I didn't really like much music. And still to this day, I don't listen to much music. I mean, it's weird to say. I guess I've gotten bored because nobody really impresses me anymore. You know, and it's like, it's really hard. Some stuff does, you know, but after that, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of ideas have kind of been spent, it seems.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
I think you nailed it there, yes. And so you started playing guitar, and you were 14, 15 years old, and you just kept on listening to heavy stuff. Did you have another switch of musical taste, say, when you were, because you're in late 20s, early 30s now, I think?
Like, do you mean currently, or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's.
Yeah, so I'm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, yeah. So I'm 30. I turned 30 years old this year. So if we go back about 10, 12 years.
Yep.
When I was about 18.
Okay.
So yeah, kind of that from like 15 to 18, I was sort of like learning guitar, learning how to play it. I was pretty much into a lot of heavy stuff. Now, that being said, the only place that was really an outlet for me to play guitar was at my church for worship service, so I played a lot of worship music. So I guess you could say worship music was part of that as well. And
gotcha.
That's also a pretty integral part of who I am as well. I love worship music.
Oh, great.
So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what was there any other things from that point to current? Is there any music that has caught your attention? Any styles? Like, you know, sometimes you kind of, like, I remember kind of getting a little starting to like jazz when I got a little older, you know, and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Was there anything that changed for you since then?
Yeah, I'd say, like, I mean, first, I've always described myself first and foremost as a metalhead. Like, that's kind of my favorite genre.
Yep.
But I'm by no means a purist either. So
yes.
I do appreciate many other genres. So, like, you know, rock, hard rock, a little bit of punk here and there.
Yep.
And then I do like. I'm not too big on rap. I mean, I do like me some NF. If you've ever listened to NF.
Yep.
He's a fantastic rapper. And so. And some electronic stuff, like a little bit of dubstep, that kind of stuff. But so, you know, so I'm a bit eclectic, but I usually gravitate back to heavy stuff as my majority of what I listen to anyways. So,
Interesting. So when did you, so you've played guitar for probably 15 years now. Approximately. And did you play any other instruments? Because I know you did recording of your stuff, so you must have picked up some other stuff on the way.
Yeah, so actually I eventually, and this I can't remember, I was about, 17, 18, I think I started just playing drums, and and so I do play drums as well.
Okay.
And of course I sing, because I sing on the album as well. And then I always describe it as I can play the bass, like I can pick up a bass and I can make sounds, but I'm not like, amazing on a bass guitar.
Gotcha. So you record all your stuff though. You've produced everything you've done.
Yeah. So I've done everything that you hear. Yeah. So all the tracks that you hear on Spotify, Apple Music, I've done that all myself. I use Logic Pro X.
Oh yeah,
is the program that I use. Yeah, and I just use a little interface, and I just do it all through that.
Excellent. Do you find it fascinating to even mix your stuff? Isn't it fun to do that when you actually get mixing and editing?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a craft, and I've gotten, I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm just all self-taught.
Yes.
But yeah, it is really amazing. When I reference old recordings, I go back into the files and I listen to them, and I cringe a little bit.
Yes.
And then, see where I am now. So.
Isn't it something when you're first doing stuff, or you first learn a new trick and you do your music and you're like, man, this sounds hot, because at that point it's the best you've ever done. And then when you go, like you said, a year later or a few weeks later or anything later, you're like, oh my, that's terrible.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I can relate to that big time.
Yeah.
So when, how old were you when you? First of all, you got 2 albums, right? Or 2? What do you got?
Yes. So I got on Spotify and Apple Music and Bandcamp as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one full length album, and then an EP that I released just this past year.
Okay. When did the full length album come out?
That was last year that it came out.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
yeah.
When did you decide, hey, I'm going to do my own stuff? Was it the year before last year? When did this thing start taking foot?
Yeah, so I've kind of had, I started writing songs when I was 17, 18. So
okay.
so some of these songs that you hear on this album and this EP, I actually wrote when I was a teenager.
Wow.
It's just that I've gotten better over the years, and I just updated them and made them a little bit more, better, slightly more current sounding.
Right.
So really it kind of goes back to that time when I was I'm kind of getting out of high school, and I'm like, yeah, I just want to be in a band, man, and that's kind of that was the only ambition I had at that time.
Okay.
So, it kind of goes back to that time.
Yep.
But yeah, so if you fast forward to now, I did have a band going. Long story short, things just kind of didn't pan out at the time.
Sure.
Everyone kind of, life happens, and
yep.
we just ended up kind of going our separate ways. And then I was just like, you know what, I just want to get my music out there. I just want people to hear it and listen to it. So that's kind of what sparked it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Is it hard to do, even if you had a band, is it hard in your area? Now you're right in Alberta?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Is it hard and what's the population there, roughly?
Oh.
It's huge, isn't it?
I'd have to do it. Yeah, it's pretty big. You've got, I'm close to Calgary, Alberta. If you're, Calgary Flames,
Sure.
Calgary, Edmonton. There's
Sure.
a million people in Calgary.
Yeah.
My wife texted me 4 million in Alberta.
Oh wow! Okay, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. So that's bigger. Yeah. It's even bigger. I knew it was big. I didn't realize that was that big. Thanks, wife, for helping us on that.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question. And are you right in the city, or are you in the suburbs, or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty close to the Montana border.
Oh, okay.
So I'm only a couple hours away. Yeah,
oh, okay.
So I live in a smaller city.
I gotcha. So is it tough?
So, yeah.
The reason why I asked that, I'm trying to find out, is it tough to get anything going with bands because of the type of music people? What are people listening to up there? What's the thing? Is it classic rock? What's the thing in your area?
Yeah, so kind of in the because I'm in the southern Alberta area.
Uh-huh.
So I'd say country's pretty big out
okay.
here.
Okay.
indie music. So there is like a rock and metal scene, but I'd say rock and metal are maybe kind of a lot more underground.
I see.
It's definitely here, but yeah. So I'd say as far as like rock and metal goes,
yep.
I mean, it's not impossible by any means, but
Sure.
But yeah, I'd say it's not as easy as like say like a Nashville kind of scene, you know,
right?
Or even like Vancouver. Well, there's Vancouver in you know BC, that kind of thing, right? So
yep,
yeah,
absolutely. Wow. So do you? Are you doing music as a secondary thing? I mean, you got family, you got stuff. You just kind of do it for fun, or are you looking to do beyond and get in a band and maybe tour sometime?
Yeah. So I mean, right now I'm actually a college student.
Okay.
Congrats. So So I actually have. I mean, I'm an electrician by day.
All right.
And I'm going to school to be a social worker. So I'm doing a career change. So yeah, like as far as like careers go, like I mean, I think there was a time where I'm like, yeah, I want this and only this to be my career. But you know, as I get older, it's like, well, there's definitely other things that I enjoy doing as well.
Absolutely.
So this is definitely right now. It's just like, you know what, I just love it. I love making music, and I love people to listen to my music. So
yes.
Right now, I'd call it a hobby. I don't make any money off of it,
sure.
but I just love doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have a fan base building?
A little bit, yeah,
okay.
a small fan base, yeah.
And it's hard too, especially in areas that, like you said, if there's a underground music, meaning metal is the underground music for you guys, kind of up there, sort of. Then it's kind of hard to build a fan base with that unless you're right down in the, right in the city or right where it's going down, you know.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, I get that totally. So what? Out of your first album and then your EP release, and when did you release the EP this year?
So actually, this is in March of this past year.
Okay,
yeah.
How have you? And I've only heard what's on your EP, some of the stuff the other day. So how do you feel it's changed from your album to your EP? What has changed? What's some significant differences, and what's same that you can say, hey, this is kind of what I sound like?
Yeah, so I did a lot more work to just try and make things sound tighter and just better overall, for lack of better terminology.
More or less like a better mix and stuff.
Yeah. So I did. I at work every day, I'd sit on my phone and I'd watch YouTube tutorials on how to do mixing and mastering and Logic Pro X, because I had done a little bit before and taken like a class before, but I was like, I just really want to tighten this one up and make it sound better. So I'd say, as far as like just like tonally and just like mixing quality, I'd say it's better than that first album.
Yep.
And even just like and musically as well too.
Okay.
Actually, the biggest thing between the album and the EP is I'd say the vocals.
Okay.
I'm really proud of the vocals.
Okay.
The screaming, I was able to kind of get a lot better screaming going on for this new one. So yeah.
Very cool. Has the genre hasn't changed, more or less it's just been more harnessed, would you say? I mean, you still have the same kind of music, you're doing hard rock metal-ish, right?
Yeah.
Any new tricks?
Yeah,
any new tricks that you're proud of, or a direction you're going? So I did hear you gotten the screams better and all that. What about the writing of the material, the music behind the material? Have you done any changes in the way you write, or the tones you use for your guitars, that kind of stuff, new and fresh?
Yeah, I've definitely tried to experiment with definitely tried to experiment with like guitar tones and trying to get something a little edgier, something a little harder sounding.
Okay.
As far as I guess you could say lyrical content, I think has improved as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So we're going to play some of your stuff, and I'm thinking as we're talking, I'm wondering how do you want to roll? Do you want to do like a back and forth, one of your old, one of your new, and back and forth with that, or what do you want me to spin? I'm going to spin about 4 songs of yours tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing at least 1 or 2 off that old one, because I think there's definitely some on there that I really appreciate.
Okay. Is there any input? Yeah. I just pulled that up right now, and that one's called A Change of Heart, Reignited.
Yeah.
Very cool. Reignited. What was the concept behind this album, and how is it different from the new album as far as concept and meaning?
Yeah, so actually, I guess I should explain why it's called Reignited. So technically, there is, on Bandcamp, there is an earlier version of that album that was, let's call it experimental.
Okay.
I experimented with some like electronic beats and synthesizer sounds.
Okay.
So it's essentially the same songs, but then I ended up stripping all of that out.
Okay.
And then just coming out with the Reignited edition, which is just straightforward rock. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, if you're bored and you want to go hear that earlier experimental stuff, it's only on Bandcamp, though. It's not on the not on Spotify and Apple Music.
Okay. I really like that. I like about music where you hear. I always enjoyed back in the day when you would hear the unedited versions or versions that they didn't release, and you can hear how they change and the newness. I experienced that with even our band. One of the songs that we did, we played it. I wrote it a certain way, and then once we got in the studio, it changed some where the bass line is minor rather than major, and it really changed the song. And I didn't like it at first, but I really like it now. And so it's kind of cool to hear the 2 different versions of a song. So yeah, I'd like to go back and listen to your stuff at some point and see the differences in these and what you got going now. Now you and you can say that it looks like you have 9, 10, 11 of those songs. So you have 11 electronic version, so to say, and then the reignited version of each one of those?
Yeah.
Very
basically,
cool.
Yeah. There's 2 instrumental songs that are on that very first one as well that I didn't carry forward.
Very cool.
To the new one. So
what is A Change of Heart? Why did you name it that album?
Yeah. So that concept. So that's where it gets into like the faith aspect of it.
Yep.
So the idea that accepting when you come to accept Jesus,
yes,
and that
yes,
that imparting of the Holy Spirit onto you,
yes,
it's a literal change of heart, not
yes.
in a physical sense, but
yes.
In that sense where it's like behold, I am making a new creation.
Yes.
He makes us into new creations, right?
You nailed it. That's true.
Yeah, and so there's the title track. I have one of the songs is called "A Change of Heart."
Okay.
So that's the title track.
Okay.
And in that I have a line. So the line of the chorus is rip. So it's kind of graphic, but I say rip your heart from your chest.
Okay.
I'll give you mine. I'm forgetting my own lyrics now.
I get it.
But essentially, I'm going to give you a new heart.
Oh,
right?
wow!
So I use graphic language to kind of portray that. Yeah,
I like that. I like that concept because again, and I've been learning too, even listening to metal. And I had my co-host at the time. He was explaining, which I didn't know that at first, but a lot of bands who I even I don't know about this. They're singing about this, and they're actually not glorifying it. They're just making the point of things, or they use graphic qualities to get the point across.
Yeah,
and that's a great point the way you said that, because that does make sense. And especially in the people you're trying to reach, the music style, they're looking for that rough, rowdy, ripping apart. And it's like, well, kind of if you translate what's going on in the scriptures, a lot of scripture is metal. You know what I mean? In its depth and graphic potential in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So. And before we get to all that, bring the Ember. How did you come up with that name for the project?
Yeah, so that's actually also interesting as well. So the band name used to actually be Seraphim's Flight.
Oh, wow.
That was the old name.
Okay.
So, so that name derives from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8.
Okay.
You have the scene where Isaiah, he's having his heavenly vision, and, he says, he's standing before the throne, and he says, behold, I'm a man of unclean lips. And then the seraphim takes a coal from the altar, and he flies to him, and he touches it to his lips, and it allows him to stand before God clean. And so, I had a pastor friend. I explained that to a pastor friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, there's a lot of Christ imagery in that, right?
Yeah.
And like the idea that Christ was the ultimate sacrifice on that altar of grace, and that He ultimately cleanses us, right?
Yes.
So really, there's kind of these parallels between that passage and this one, and so that's kind of the origins of the name.
Interesting.
But when the band kind of dissolved at one point, it was just me and another guy, and we kind of wanted to just kind of breathe kind of new life into the project again. So we said, well, let's pick a new name.
Okay.
But I didn't want to let go. I didn't want to let go of that passage.
Yeah.
So that's when we just flipped it to, bring the ember. It's bringing that again. It's that same imagery of the angel bringing the ember down to cleanse the lips of Isaiah.
I love it. I love it. I love the depth that you put into the thought of this and what the Holy Spirit has brought to you and to present and stuff like that. I love the concept. I even love the logo. You designed that logo, did you?
Yeah, I did, and I mean, I'll be honest on that. I downloaded. If you just go onto the App Store on your phone, I just downloaded Logo Maker and just slapped whatever I could together. Right?
It's super cool. I really like it. It's a very catchy logo. It's very interesting. I really like it. You got some really cool stuff. I love the thought behind your stuff and the depth and even the depths of Scripture too, because a lot of people miss some of that. I like when people talk other than the stuff you hear on Sunday at church. You know what I mean? I like there's so much more to the Word, but a lot of pastors just don't talk about it just so they don't lose some of the flock. But to be honest, they probably gain more flock by speaking deeper truths. But anyways, what song, what can we start out? What do you want to spin tonight off of this album?
So I think a good place to start with the Reignited album is I would start with Playing with Fire.
Playing with Fire. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this song, what's the nicest way to describe it? It's essentially a song kind of describing, it's kind of calling out people in a way.
Okay.
Lovingly, I hope.
Yep.
Right? This idea of people trying to, so what I'm starting to see. I don't know what it's like in the States, but there's a resurgence of spiritualism in our society.
Yep.
But it's not Christian spiritualism.
Right.
There's a lot of New Age thought.
Right.
That kind of thing, and people trying to kind of hold both that and trying to walk with Jesus.
Yep,
And
you're
so
right.
it's kind of speaking to stuff like that, saying, "Hey, you're really playing with something dangerous here."
Right.
So that's kind of what the idea behind this song is. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's needed to be said. Especially, that's a great material for the flock to hear. That you got to be careful what other people, because the enemy tries to make things look pretty. Twisting the gospels and the truth and bringing in other things. So we got to be on guard of that. So right on. You're nailing it. So. Let me spin that. You're gonna still be on the phone with me. I'm doing this different tonight with the phone thing, so I am going to spin it. I'm going to be trying to listen to it. I'm going to have you and I on mute for the world, but I think you and I will be able to still talk through my phone. If anybody hears the conversation, if your wife does, have her let you in that we're not muted, okay? If
Sure.
That's the case. All right, so I'm going to mute us now off the radio and spin this song. Hold on a second.
Playing with Fire, here we go. Oh yeah, man. Let me tell you what. Here's what you should do, Lane. You need to continue your degree for social work. You need to do electrical when you can, but you need to get a band together.
Yes.
Dude, that was super cool. I really like the thickness of it, and for being I guess maybe semi-novice recording engineer, what I liked about it is you could hear all the different layers of guitar and the bass and the drums. Now, you played all the drums yourself on that too?
Yeah, so maybe I'll show my hand a little bit on that one.
Sure.
There's some pretty good capabilities of using software drums and stuff like that.
Yep.
Now, that being said, I can play those drum parts.
Yes.
But it's for my setup, because I don't have an actual good drum setup to do good recording.
Sure.
It was easier for me to kind of, so like I would play it on the drums first, like myself, and then kind of translate it into Logic Pro X.
Yep.
But everything else I've done myself.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, very well done. And I could see, so you had the growl and the scream at the end. Is that where you started? So for that album, you said, "Hey, I'm going to do this occasionally," and then the EP, you're like, "I'm going to do it more."
Yeah. So I kind of like the idea of having a majority of clean vocals, with having, sort of a minority of the rougher vocals, but
Gotcha.
I still want them there. So, but I did want it to be a little bit more on the EP.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was well done, man. Well done.
Thank you.
The instrumentation. I'm like, how? So when you made that album, how long have how long had you been mixing for prior to that album?
Yeah, so again, when I had started playing around on GarageBand when I was a teenager.
Gotcha.
I just kind of fiddling around, and then just kind of got better and better over the years, and then guys put tutorials up, and you're like, oh hey, I didn't know I could do that. And then,
I see.
So it's taken me quite I didn't get to be like that overnight. It's taken well over a decade to get to that point. So,
well, what's interesting though is you had all that time that you did. I mean, it sounds like you got your stuff together and then made an album.
Yeah, essentially, because I wrote. So some of those songs were newer at the time that I had recorded it, and some of those songs were older that I just decided to. I'm like, I'm going to put this one here. I'm going to put this one here, and then I got a few new ones that I've written. So it's kind of a compilation of newer and older stuff.
Okay, all right. I can totally tell that you know what you were doing, and I can hear. I hadn't heard this album. I heard the EP, and I can see how you have grown even more. So even this was impressive. Your new stuff is even more impressive. What song can we play again? And you want to stay on the same album or jump to the other? You name it.
Yeah, why don't we jump to the EP?
Okay.
So I've been I like all the songs on there, to be honest,
sure.
and I hope I don't come across as vain when I say
you actually don't. I like that because you have to. The thing of it is, when the Holy Spirit gives you ability and when you're gifted in doing things, you can be proud of what He's doing through you and thankful for it, because I've had times where there's songs that I like that I've done and I'm not giving myself credit for it. I'm just saying, hey, whether I did this or not, I like this song.
Yeah, it's just the same. I'm proud of what I did, and that's all. But anyways, yeah. So I'd really love for people to hear the song "Alive in Me."
Okay, tell us about it. And first, before we get this this album is called A Change of, or no, we're still, hold on, sorry about that. What was the name of the song you wanted to do?
Good. So the song is "Alive in Me."
Okay, I see that now. Let me just click. I just want to see what's the title of that album, because I'm not seeing. I got the song, but
By My Side is the EP. There should be 5 tracks on there.
How did this whole EP get inspired?
Yeah, so this one gets a little more personal for me here.
Okay.
So last year, beginning of so March 15th, I lost my dad.
I'm sorry.
To a heart attack. So that was very actually. So yeah, it was a heart attack, but the medication they gave him. So he had initially survived the heart attack, and they gave him a medication to break up his blood clots.
Yep.
And that medication itself has a 1% chance of causing blood clots to go to your brain.
Gotcha.
And cause brain bleeding.
Okay.
Well, my dad fell into that 1% of people who that would happen to.
Wow.
So it was very unexpected.
Wow.
Really threw me and my family for quite a tailspin.
Yes.
So this EP, so that the name of the song "By My Side" is dedicated to my dad, as well as the other song "You're Gone."
Okay.
That is also about my dad. So
wow.
yeah.
Wow. And that was this past March?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So sorry. Last
March.
Oh, last March.
Not this past one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strangely, thankfully my wife is still with us, but she last year she ended up right in March. It was I think at the first week in March. She went in. She had been having problems with her leg. Long story short, she had a leg amputation below the knee, and that was tough stuff too. But I can understand what you're talking about with the blood clot medication. Was on a lot of that stuff, and I'm hearing you there. So sorry for that with your dad. The positive thing in the sense of that, the scripture, the Apostle Paul I think said, to live is great, to die for Christ is better yet. And in other words, he's in a better situation now based on his faith.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's really helped carry me through.
Yes,
a lot of that pain and a lot of that grief.
Yes,
but yeah.
Yes, and I'm sure he was proud of you over the. I mean, look at you're going to school for social work. You're an electrician. You're doing a lot of different things. Music. He's probably proud of you.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt about that.
That's awesome. Love it. Okay, so let's. What song we were going to play on this one? Alive in Me.
Let's do Alive in Me. Yeah.
And give the background on Alive in Me.
Yeah. So this one again is a Christ-centered song, talking about how essentially. I mean, it's not greatly profound. But I mean, depending on how you look at it. But just really that idea of it's Jesus, Holy Spirit living in me, and it's not about me and what I do.
Right.
It's really trying to get at that idea.
Good.
And then there's also some other kind of language in that song as well. You'll hear it in the second verse and in the breakdown. So I won't get in.
Oop! I lost you. You still there with us? Hold on a second. Let me see what happened. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, I lost you. I think a mic went down. Say it again. Go ahead and speak.
Hello?
Okay, there you are. Yep, I got you back again. So there's
you got me back? Okay.
Yeah, so there's language in the music and a breakdown, you were saying?
Yeah, so a little bit of that is, so I've gotten into, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Michael Heiser.
No.
By chance. He wrote a book called The Unseen Realm.
Okay.
It's a fantastic book.
Okay.
So there's a bit of what's called divine counsel kind of language in there. So basically, all that means is it's just basically kind of tied to spiritual warfare, and basically just kind of an anthem against the forces of darkness, essentially saying
gotcha.
You've lost, essentially,
Right.
So yeah, I've kind of included a bit of that in there as well. So.
Very cool. Yeah, I love your depth of concept. So we're gonna go again. Let me make sure I got our mics unmuted. I'm gonna spin. I'll start spinning this song. This is all new to me, the way I'm running this system tonight. So stand by for a second. Let's see if I got this right here. Alive in Me. Yeah, we are back with you guys, MSM Radio, Metal Sharpens Metal, and we have Lane from Alberta, Canada, with his project called Bring the Ember, and what a fascinating story that he has concerning all that. And we've been hanging out with him for the past hour, and I got another song rolling already. I hit my monitors. There we go. It was one of his other ones. Lane, you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Yeah, man. I love how the signal is coming out from Alberta, Canada, man. I mean, you're coming loud and clear through the cell phone. It's great.
That's good.
I like this. Hold on a second. For some reason, my signal... Okay, I have the speaker backwards. There we go. I think we will hear you better now from that end. I had the phone upside down. Yeah, so that song was pretty intense too. That again, I could hear the more development of your sound, and you're starting to get into your niche on this album.
Yeah, kind of falling into the pieces, kind of more or less are falling into place.
Yes.
Come this album.
Yes. So Lane and I were just talking when that song was playing, and we got talking. I was asking his guitar influences, and then he brought up Dream Theater, and I was like, "What?" He said, "You ever heard of Dream Theater?" I was like, "Yeah." Dream Theater is one of my faves, and incredible band. Here's another one for you. Just wondering if you know of him, vocally speaking. I think he's incredible. Back in the day, he did some work with Steve Vai, but he's got his own thing now. And what a screamer he is. You ever hear of Devin Townsend? I think he's a Canadian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think Devin Townsend started in a band called Strapping Young Lad.
That's correct.
Who was a Canadian metal band. Yeah.
That's correct.
Very heavy, edgy band back in the day.
Yes.
If you've ever listened to them.
Yeah, and I didn't like it back then, but over the course of time, and I got turned on to his stuff, and I was like, man, this guy is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely kind of forged ahead on his own, and yeah, really done some really good stuff.
Yes. Well, Canada's got some great music. I mean, one of my favorites, Rush. Come on, you know?
Well, of course, obviously.
Rush rocks. Love Rush. One of my favorite songs they did, and it's a lesser-known song, but I like the song called Lakeside Park. And I guess I think that's near Toronto or something like that. But really like that song. We, where we are in New York, we can so from Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls, it's just like an hour and a half drive up across the border to Toronto, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then I hung out in different areas up along the St. Lawrence Seaway, Thousand Islands area, going across to Canada, and really cool places up in Canada. Really clean country. Really like a lot of the stuff up in Canada.
Yeah, no, totally.
No doubt. So we have a few minutes, and you're welcome to stay longer if you'd like. We only got about 4 minutes. We just got talking. That's how this show goes sometimes. I get asking so many questions, we don't get to everything. But I want to ask you a couple quick questions. If you could create your own band of friends, family, people that you admire in the area that are non-professional or not famous, who would that be? And then the second question is,
if you could build a super group of famous dead or alive musicians, who would that be? So go ahead, hit it.
Oh, dead or alive. Oh, boy. Okay.
Yep.
So as far as like friends and family, I'd probably...
or local guys that you know that are incredible, you know.
Like, can it be anyone?
Yeah, it can be anyone, just not famous. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For that first part of the question.
So I'd probably just get who was I thinking of? Oh yeah, so I get my sister singing.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pull in all family for myself.
Okay, great.
So I'm gonna get my sister to sing. Maybe I'll do drums. I got my brother doing harp. I don't know if he's still playing harp.
Cool.
But,
all right.
On his harp, and then my wife on piano.
Oh, great. Awesome. Okay. And so it would be so would you, okay, let me ask you this. If you had that band and you could conduct it the way you wanted, would it, because again, it sounds like it could be a worship style band, but would you develop it into a heavy metal harp piano singing band, or what would you do with it?
I really don't know where that one would go, but
it'd be unique.
It would, yeah.
I was just, I bought a harp one time, and it was really cool. And I enjoyed playing it, and I just watched a video like last night, I think it was, of this woman playing a harp with a distortion pedal. I was like, what?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. I didn't like what she was playing, but I liked that she was being at least trying to be creative with it. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool ideas.
Well, I know Apocalyptica kind of does that with their stuff.
Yes.
But, the cellos, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
Yeah.
So
and as far as...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you were to build a super group of famous or famous dead or alive people, who would that be?
Ooh. The dead part really might change my... well, maybe not. Okay, so I'll
give a couple different versions if you like.
Yeah, so I was thinking, I had originally thought the drummer, so Yogi Watts, the drummer from Demon Hunter, would be the drummer.
Okay.
I was thinking Eddie Van Halen,
to interesting.
Do the guitar.
Okay.
And Victor Wooten
as
the bass player.
Yeah, man, you're talking my style now.
Yeah, and then, but the lead singer, I'm going to throw in a curveball.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Josh Groban?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's incredible. He's operatic.
Yeah, I'd get Josh Groban to be the lead singer. See what that puts together. You know?
I think that's a super idea. Wow. Okay. And so Victor Wooten, Eddie Van Halen, because Eddie Van Halen was kind of a funky guitar player too, groovy guitar player. So wow, that would be an interesting mix. And the drummer from Demon Hunter, and then Josh Groban. Wow. All right, I like that.
Yeah,
that would be unique. That very unique. Yeah, like you're thinking, man. I dig that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're at the top of the hour. I got to give a station ID. I don't know if I already did this, but we'll do it again just in case, so I get the federal guidelines in here. 88.1 Dodgeville, 90.9 Gloversville, and 105.7 FM Rome. And you guys are listening to Metal Sharpens Metal Radio, and we have Lane from Alberta, Canada, with his project Bring the Ember. So Lane, I don't know if you're able to stick around for a little bit, but we have some time if you're interested. If not, you can get back with family and all that. Your call. You want to spend a few more minutes, or are you ready to shut down?
Sure. Yeah, let's go for a few more minutes.
All right, cool. So do you is there any other songs you want to spin off of one of either of your albums?
Yeah, so actually, I think I'd like for people to hear "You're Gone."
Okay.
The song "You're Gone."
Okay, and this is related to your dad. You wrote that originally.
Yeah, and so that song is really an outlet for me to get closure, just to really express that grief. But I also want it to, because I totally understand that like a lot of other people have lost loved ones as well, whether it's recently or maybe it was a long time ago, and I just want other people to basically just I hope this song can help somebody else who either went through that or is going through that as well.
Right. Okay. Very good. And that's great. And I like how you have now. This is an acoustic thing, and I think it's super cool that you got this heavy stuff and you throw an acoustic song in the mix. I think that's very important. It's
and there is an actual acoustic version of that song too. So.
Oh, so are we playing? Oh, so you wanted me to play the non-acoustic? I see it now. I didn't realize. Okay, yep.
Whichever version, really. Doesn't matter to me, but...
I want to hear this rockin' version, because I think I heard the acoustic version the other day, so I haven't heard the heavy version. So let's spin this, guys. You're Gone by Bring the Ember. Here we go.
Writing on the wall, the day it happened felt so long, 'cause in a moment you were gone. I keep repeating those moments in my head. The time has passed, but the memory still endures. Now that you're gone, plagued by the pain that won't relieve. Now that you're gone, all these dreams that I have keep haunting me. And when you left, did you even hear the words I said? I'll never know. I can only hold the hand of hope. Now that you're gone. Now that you're gone, all I have is the life that's left to live. I'll carry on with the strength that I know is not from me. I'm letting go, 'cause there's one thing that I know for sure. It's not the end. I will see you face to face again. I will hold on.
All right, we're back with you guys. Yeah, that was very smooth and easy. It reminded me of like a indie style of music that would be reachable. So it didn't sound like... Do you guys have the station up there called K-Love?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I don't listen to a lot of radio myself, but
Yeah, sure. Same here, pretty
I'm not
much.
sure if we do, yeah.
Yeah, K-Love is just basically, I think, at least United States nationally syndicated Christian stuff. They play, some light hits and worship music and all that stuff. But that right there,
okay. Yeah.
that right there was beyond that, though. It wasn't so. What I liked about it was you could definitely hear it in a church gathering setting, but it was a little more. I guess, how can I say this? More pleasing sounding to the general masses, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It seemed like it could fit over, that song could go beyond the Christian realm of listening. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. No. Totally. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Totally.
Yeah, that was well done. Excellent. So, is there anything else you want to share with us?
Yeah, like any other songs you mean?
Yeah. Or any songs, and then but if there's other thoughts too, you can share as well.
Yeah, I guess if there was one more song that I would share, and then the thoughts on that song would be going back to the first album again.
Okay.
So actually, it's the first track. It's called Redshift Regime.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So this song, actually, we actually made a music video for this one.
Okay.
So if you go to our Facebook page, I think it's also up on YouTube as well. If you search, we don't have a whole lot on YouTube right now, but I'm pretty sure it's out there. But anyways, if you go over to our Facebook page, it'll definitely be somewhere on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And so that was really fun to do. Just one of the guys in my band, he was in school to do kind of media, video, that kind of stuff, and so we did that as a school project for him. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
But so I really like this one too, because it's kind of just so one of the other aspects about me is that I'm very much into like the intellectual side of Christianity. So
okay, great.
I'm really into like apologetics. So,
yes, good.
Following guys like William Lane Craig,
okay.
I've read a lot of his material. So the name Redshift, that comes from, and I'm not an astrophysicist or a scientist, so if I mess up the jargon here,
okay,
forgive me. But evidence for like the Big Bang, and the redshift. Scientists found redshift as the universe expands. They in their however they measure that.
Yep.
As it gets further and further away, the light shifts more to the red spectrum. So,
I see.
So it basically it's just the idea of when you really dig into kind of those kind of like arguments and evidences for God's existence, like that really impacts me and helps. It's really helped me to stay grounded in what I believe.
Interesting.
So this is a song kind of about that stuff. So,
oh, great! Yeah. I like it. I really like the depth. And have you been interviewed by Glenn Rempson yet?
No, I'm supposed to, but he's just kind of recovering from being sick, so we just had to reschedule it. Is all.
Yeah, this is going to be great because he goes to the depths of the faith too, and I like that you mentioned apologetics and stuff like that, and that's the stuff that it's great that you're interested in that, and you can share with others the deeper things, because that's what it's about, and the deeper things are actually. They should be surface things, but they just don't get taught enough. You know what I mean? We need to know who our Father is, and the truth and the creation and everything related to it, and how we can really science does prove our Father. They say, well, science this and that and other thing, but there's so many things that are evident in creation and all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. So I'm glad you're on that same page.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, there's a lot of people that try to bring New Age and even New Age science into
the church, the body, and it's not good, and so we need the apologetics of it, and to understand and know our roots and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's what this song is about. Let's play this Redshift Regime. Here we go.
Psychosomatic machine. I don't know what it means when my heart starts to play. Your voice is calling me out of the dark as I'm falling apart inside this Redshift Regime. Now I'm falling apart. And now I'm falling apart. Now I'm falling apart. And now I'm falling apart. And now I'm falling apart. And now I'm falling apart. It's like a psychosomatic machine. I don't know what it means when my heart starts to play. Your voice is calling me out of the dark as I'm falling apart inside this Redshift Regime. And now I'm falling apart. And now I'm falling apart.
Oh yeah, that was really thick. We had some thick stuff going on there, Lane. I really like the chug of it and the beat of it. And some of your stuff reminds me of vocally. It reminds me of Winter's Resurrection. And so y'all check out Winter's Resurrection. I think they're in South Carolina, and they've been on the show before too. They're prog. They're not so metal, but they're more prog, and they sound really cool too. But this was vocally like them. But then you had the metal sound of Zana. And so everybody check out Zana. I think you guys will all like them. So Lane, you having fun tonight on this show?
Oh yeah, no, this is great.
This is like this is your first interview, yes?
Yes.
That's awesome. No
Yeah,
kidding.
it is. Yeah.
I'm trying to fix my mic here. Well, my mic is on, but I can't hear the headphones so well. I got to dial this in. We're having some technical difficulties. There we go. I think I'm in. That's better. All right. Well, was there anything else you want to share with us at all, Lane?
I think that's all I got for tonight. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun being on here with you tonight and just chatting and listening to music.
Yeah, awesome. We got to do this again, and I'd love to have you on. I can't wait to see some of the other stuff. You have anything in the works coming up?
Yeah, I do. I do actually have. Not so much albums. I'm probably going to be switching to doing more just kind of releasing some singles for the time being.
Great.
I definitely have no shortage of songs that I'll be looking at releasing, but I do have at least 2 or 3 that I'm looking at dropping pretty within the near future. I haven't quite decided a date yet, but
okay.
Pretty soon.
Oh,
yeah.
Great, man. Well, listen, keep us posted, keep me posted, and then I'll start pushing it on the radio, and then maybe we'll do like a mini interview and call you up, and you can, hang with us for 15, 20 minutes and talk about that particular song and spin it, and then at sometime down the road we can have another full interview with you. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you spending time with us. Our Canadian brother in the house. Love it. And, yeah, the Canadians rock. You guys are rocking up there.
Your strange brothers from the north.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
we all strange. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
There was back in the day. I was studying. I was going to a Lutheran church, but the pastor was very knowledgeable and studied and learned. And he was telling me about he was actually going to be he was in college, and the CIA wanted to recruit him because he was fluent in Greek and Hebrew and German and all that kind of stuff. And he didn't want to go that route. And then he actually wanted to join the Quakers, I guess. And then he just decided not to do that. So then he got into, we went to seminary and all that stuff and did the Lutheran stuff for a little bit. But I think he's still doing it in Hudson, New York. Really cool guy, and I learned a bunch from him. And when you talk about strange brothers from the north and all that kind of stuff, the Canaanites back in the day, if I'm not mistaken, this pastor told me this way back in the day, the word that they use, I don't know what the Canaanite word was, but the Yahweh, our Father in heaven, of the Hebrews, the Canaanites actually called the Hebrews, when they would say their God, was the strange one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because our Father in heaven does what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants, and he does it great and interesting, and a lot of we don't know what he's going to do next, but unless he gives us prophetic unction, but the things that he's guided us all for his sake, his glory, and the love of us. So I guess other people in the world do think that's strange.
I guess so. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But hey, man, thanks so much for being on the show with us. You have a good night, and thanks for joining us, and we will catch you sometime down the road, Yahweh willing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rick.
All right, Lane, we'll catch up. Keep contact with me, bro.
Absolutely.
All right, peace, bro.
Peace.
All right, guys, we're back at you. And what an interesting thing, Lane. He's got some very deep thoughts in his music. I mean, he's very sincere and deep about what he's trying to present concerning the faith, and I love it. I love his depth and context, and his music is ripping too. What a solid. I like this story, man. Just as from his young ages all the way up through, it's a pretty interesting story, and to hear the kind of stuff that he's doing now. So thanks, Lane, for being with us, and thanks to his wife for watching out the airwaves, making sure everything was on and working for us on their end, all the way out in Alberta, Canada. That was exciting. You know what, guys? I am going to be jetting out